Hey guys, this evening we're starting an exploration into a realm few ever witness. It's a place of gilded coaches and sparkling crowns, of grand estates with countless chambers, yet also one of concealed truths hidden away for ages. Envision the globe's mightiest figure, Queen Victoria, kicking off each day with a sip of opium tincture. A royal heir squandering fortunes as his subjects went hungry. A monarch so fixated on indulgence that he ordered a specially designed seat for his desires. These aren't tales or embellishments. This is the concealed past of the British monarchy. And this evening, we're drawing aside the plush drape. So, prior to plunging into this narrative as a group, I have a request. If you've sought material that delves beyond basic history, revealing accounts skipped in classrooms, then you've found the spot. Pause briefly to tap that subscribe option, and if this episode holds you rapt, show it with a thumbs up. Plus, I'm truly interested in this. Where are you tuning in from at this moment? Snug in bed with the lights low, set to doze? Or perhaps on the other side of the planet, just kicking off your morning? Leave a note and share. I enjoy discovering our group spans the world. Now settle in, fluff your cushion, allow the external noise to dissolve. This episode's tale is unforgettable. You see, from early years, we're encouraged to revere royalty. We observe their balcony greetings, view their nuptials on screens, purchase souvenir dishes etched with their likenesses in gilt. They embody ideals we chase: poise, elegance, self-control, that firm resolve, the steadfast devotion to responsibility. But suppose I revealed that within those fortress barriers, the British royals proved as mortal as anyone. Wait, forget that. Suppose I disclosed they were at times even more fractured. Since here's the reality of boundless authority, endless riches, unrestricted entry to whatever you crave. It fails to bring joy. Often, it achieves the reverse. It separates you. It smothers you. And when confined in a lavish prison, when each instant is planned and examined, when marriage isn't your choice, well, individuals seek outlets. And for British royals, those outlets frequently appeared as dependencies that would stun the loyal followers who knelt to them. Allow me to depict addiction in royal settings. It wasn't a shady deal or fleeting lapse. No, royal dependency was refined. It came via top physicians in rooms lined with silk. It arrived in glass vials and decorated containers. It reached palace entrances from London's most esteemed vendors. And crucially, it was widespread. During the 1800s, any British drugstore sold opium over the counter. Laudanum, opium mixed in spirits, seemed as routine as pain relievers now. Physicians suggested it for issues from infant teething to period discomfort. Morphine, which later ruined existences, was promoted as a wonder remedy for aches. And cocaine. Upon reaching Europe, it was viewed as a vitality booster. Queen Victoria personally offered cocaine-infused gum to a youthful Winston Churchill during his Balmoral stay. Picture that briefly. England's sovereign providing cocaine to a future leader, and no one raised a brow. But this is where it turns captivating and somewhat tragic. The royals didn't merely consume these items. They were ensnared by them. Consider Queen Victoria. She claimed the throne at merely 18. 18. Picture the burden. In a flash, she shifted from a protected heir to overseeing history's vastest realm. Her choices impacted millions. Any error might spark a governmental upheaval, and she commenced each day, without fail, with laudanum to ease the strain. Scholars debate if this constituted genuine dependency or era-standard care, but ponder that momentarily. The individual deciding on conflicts, territories, countless citizens. She handled it amid opium's sway daily. And Victoria stood alone? Her grandson, King Edward VII, dubbed Europe's uncle, held a distinct fixation. Edward craved enjoyment in all varieties: meals, wagering, and ladies. Numerous ladies. Records indicate at least 50 paramours over his span. He devoured 4 lavish repasts daily. Meanwhile, he frequented Paris's Chabonais brothel so often they held a chamber for him. They crafted bespoke furnishings to suit his, let's say, ample build. This was a figure who grew so heavy he started the trend of unfastening the lowest vest button, since his abdomen wouldn't permit otherwise. But the habit that nearly toppled the crown: betting, notably George IV's wagering urge. Prior to kingship, this man racked up debts equaling £22 million today. 22 million. He staked it on games, races, anything bettable. When payments loomed, he couldn't settle. England's heir was practically penniless. So Parliament struck a bargain. They'd clear his obligations, but solely if he wed Princess Caroline of Brunswick. It was a deal, a commercial pact. Affection played no part. And tragically, the union failed. Caroline allegedly lacked in cleanliness. George reportedly intoxicated at their vows. They parted post one daughter, and George pursued divorce lifelong, all due to wagering shortfalls. Now, you may question, why share this? Why care about royal dependencies 2 centuries past? Here's why. These weren't mere private lapses. These habits molded events. Queen Victoria's opium intake occurred as Britain saturated China with the substance, spawning millions of dependents, and igniting the Opium Wars, conflicts claiming tens of thousands and reshaping worldwide dynamics. Edward VII's relentless pursuit of diversion and escape led him to overlook Europe's mounting frictions. Frictions that burst into World War I. George IV's wagering debts transformed Parliament's grip on royal funds eternally. These weren't harmless habits. They echoed across time. And this truly strikes me: the concealment. The monarchy mastered obscuring these matters. They employed physicians prescribing necessities discreetly, advisors expert in settling debts quietly and vanishing controversies. An entire framework safeguarded the crown's facade even as reality crumbled indoors. Royals employ a saying, "Never complain, never explain." It signifies no public exposure of issues. Preserve the illusion regardless of private turmoil. And for ages, that's precisely what occurred. The masses viewed the splendor, rituals, flawless images. They missed the dependency, the despair, the humans confined beneath those coronets. Yet cracks emerged eventually. Controversies escaped. Palace logs went public. And today, amid gossip rags and revealing chats, secrets proved tougher to guard. Prince Harry's admission of cocaine and marijuana use grabbed global attention. Tales of Princess Margaret's lively gatherings and supposed drug involvement formed her myth. The mask erodes gradually. And perhaps that's positive. Perhaps it's time to cease feigning royalty grants superhuman traits. Perhaps we should recognize that often the most advantaged are the most confined. That possessing all doesn't erase needs. That dependency ignores rank or lineage. From examining these tales, I've grasped this: dependency is human, not class-bound. Palace or modest flat. If substances numb hurt, mute emotions, handle unbearable strain, that's dependency. And it's sorrowful whoever faces it. But these royal accounts reveal more. They illustrate the peril of unrestrained authority paired with boundless access. When desires are fulfilled instantly, sans repercussions, dependency grows nearly certain. Royals lacked voices saying no, no boundaries, and sans limits, sans responsibility, humans often unravel. So as we proceed this exploration into royalty's shadowy dependencies, remember that these aren't simply titillating yarns of affluent misconduct. They're warnings on authority, advantage, burden, and the innate urge to flee when existence overwhelms. Tonight, we've merely skimmed the top, we've framed the scene, but the core tales, those that'll stun you, await. For we're delving into one specific prince's existence who elevated indulgence to unbelievable heights. A figure who wagered away riches, imbibed to stupor, and existed so lavishly he almost ruined the British realm. A man who bargained with fate, or rather Parliament, swapping romance for funds and enduring the toll lifelong. His name was George IV, and his account, well, it renders current star scandals mild. George Augustus Frederick, his complete title. Born August 12, 1762, eldest of King George III and Queen Charlotte. From his initial cry at St. James's Palace, his path was charted. Tutored by elite educators, mastering tongues, past events, decorum. Wedding whomever Parliament deemed strategically beneficial, and eventually donning the crown. But George? He harbored alternate ideas, or none beyond self-amusement. Envision upbringing by guardians epitomizing moderation and obligation. George III was noted for simplicity, commitment to basic joys. The man led a subdued existence relative to peers, but his heir George opposed entirely. It seemed fate crafted the most defiant successor to counterbalance. Upon turning 21 in 1783, Parliament allotted him funds for his establishment. They provided £60,000 initially, about £7 million now, plus £50,000 yearly. Seems ample, yes? For typical folk, unimaginable wealth. George depleted it under a year. Here's how. First, relocating to Carlton House on Pall Mall, he launched overhauls, not minor tweaks, transforming it to rival Versailles. Gold leaf everywhere, crystal lights in each space, French silk walls. Furniture costs exceeded lifetime's earnings for most. But that was merely his residence. George's true fervor, steeds and staking. He expended £30,000 annually, £3, £5 million today, solely on stables, on horses. Then he'd wager vast sums at tracks. Occasional wins, frequent losses. And after defeats, he'd stake more next round, sure fortune shifted. Intriguing? George could charm when desired. Tall, youthful handsomeness, clever, refined. He discussed arts and writings with era's sharpest. Superb style in attire and buildings. Folks enjoyed his company till accounts arrived. By late 1784, scarcely 2 years independent, George owed £160,000. Roughly £19 million now. 19 million in 2 years. His father declined aid. King George III essentially stated, "Your chaos, your fix." And briefly, George attempted. Shut Carlton House, shifted to modest Park Street digs, tried frugality. It endured perhaps 5 minutes. This is where the tale grows compelling and mournful. George loved. Her name Maria Fitzherbert, everything his folks would detest. Widow, 6 years senior, crucially Catholic. Per British law, the Act of Settlement, 1701, throne heirs marrying Catholics forfeited succession. Outright illegal. George ignored. December 1785, secret rites at her home. Picture the romance, Prince sacrificing all for affection. Except George sacrificed not. Kept union hidden, knowing it barred kingship and, vitally, further funds from Parliament or father. So now, secret spouse unacknowledged, escalating debts, irate parent. Something yielded. By 1787, George's obligations hit £270,000. £32 million today. The prince pled to Parliament. Vowed responsibility, promised cuts. Likely swore naming firstborn after each legislator for bailout. They granted. But stipulation, final instance. Cleared debts, funded Carlton House completion, but no further rescues. George, 35, his ultimate caution. Learned? Guess. Soon debts rose anew. Wagering persisted. Festivities expanded. Overhauls endless. By 1794, George owed over £500,000. £60 million. 60 million owed, no repayment. Here the narrative shifts from scandalous to poignant. Parliament offered refusal-proof deal. Clear debts once more, but wed cousin Princess Caroline of Brunswick. George resisted Caroline. Never met, but desperate. Creditors threatened suits. Some gambling mates grew restless. Options dwindled. So 1795, George consented. Maria Fitzherbert, sworn eternal love, he publicly denied their bond. Imagine her betrayal. Wedding to Caroline, April 8, 1795. Prior night, George reportedly drank to near blackout. Upon initial meeting days earlier, reaction horror. Accounts say he demanded brandy. Others he queried escape. Why? Debated eternally. Some cite Caroline's hygiene issues. Courtiers noted. Others not as expected. Truth likely simpler. Forced union for cash. Solid drink reason. Ceremony itself fiasco. Witnesses said George visibly inebriated. One account, barely upright. Caroline later claimed wedding night floor passed. Romantic? They conceived Princess Charlotte, then separated. He resumed Maria Fitzherbert sporadically, plus others. Caroline pursued her path, eventually scandals making George seem moderate. But wagering didn't cease. Drinking worsened, and now new fixation, laudanum. Recall laudanum, opium in alcohol. Early 1800s, George regular. Initially likely pain, gout agonizing. But laudanum softens edges, distances troubles. Warm drift making issues remote. For George's chaos, laudanum miraculous. Sip, creditors less menacing. Politics faded, father's silence stung less. Issue, tolerance builds. More needed. Unlimited doctors prescribed freely. 1811, King George III's breakdown irreversible. George gained lifelong weight, authority. Prince Regent, king essentially. Expect proof, responsibility? Instead, history's priciest coronation. Official. King George IV, 1820, spent £22 million modern equivalent on event. Fathers cost 10th. By then, George no youthful prince. Drinking, overeating, laudanum told. Morbidly obese. Over 280 pounds, some say, not extreme today, but 5'9". Waist 50 inches. Gout crippling. Likely laudanum dependent, slowly self-destructing. Late George profoundly sad. Everything, wealth, power, privilege, utter misery. Final Windsor years, rare public, health failing. June 26, 1830, George IV died age 67. Official, upper GI bleed. Autopsy, enlarged heart, liver damage, bladder tumor. Body failed from abuse. The Times obituary blunt. No individual less mourned than this king. Paper said no misses, but consider. George IV's dependency didn't solely ruin him, it altered monarchy operations. Post-George, Parliament tightened finances. Oversight, limits, no heir could wager fortune then ransom crown for debts. George's indulgences shifted public monarchy view. Pre-him, divine, untouchable. Post, mere flawed humans born privileged. Perhaps true insight. George wasn't villain, addict, coped pressure, unhappiness via excess, escape, substances promising ease but delivering agony. Crown didn't immunize weakness, if anything, amplified dangers to self and institution. What haunts about George? Waste, unlimited means, opportunity, good potential, squandered chasing next stake, drink, fleeting self-escape. But tale doesn't conclude with George. As he wagered fortunes, drank oblivion, another observed. Learning alternate lessons from boundless power, substance access. Using not mere personal escape, but empire building. Her name Victoria, her drug ties made George's seem mild. Victoria turned opium to British imperial wealth basis, creating continent-wide millions dependents, all for trade balance, empire coffers. And that tale darkens truly. When Victoria, born 1819, none anticipated queenship, fifth succession, but death's fate cleared path. June 20, 1837, 5 a.m., 18-year-old Alexandrina Victoria awakened, informed Uncle King William deceased. Now queen of history's largest empire, quarter world population, over 400 million. 18. Recall your 18. College, initial job, self-discovery. Imagine ruling billions' fates. Choices spark wars, crash economies, alter history. No refusal, no resignation, no breaks. Pressure unimaginable. So Victoria reached for relief. 1837. That was laudanum. Mentioned laudanum earlier, but explain fully. Laudanum. Opium tincture and alcohol, often herbs, spices masking taste. Standard, 10% opium, 90% alcohol. Teaspoon held serious high, available every pharmacy. No script, no queries. Like cough syrup purchased today. Victoria's doctors advised for all. Insomnia? Laudanum. Cramps? Laudanum. Ache, worry, empire-weight overwhelm? Laudanum. Victoria heeded. Surviving records, royal doctors noted meticulously, show daily morning laudanum years. Some say medicinal, doctor's orders. Others note daily addictive substance blurs medicine dependency line. But mind-blowing. Victoria's cabinet pharmacy-like. Laudanum for pain, anxiety. Cocaine, 1860s Europe newcomer, fatigue, depression cure. Reportedly cannabis tincture cramps, forward for 1800s. Childbirths, early chloroform anesthesia user. Loved, called delightful beyond measure, demanded subsequent. Ponder. England's queen, defining moral rigor era. Running personal drug trial. But Victoria's tale complicates, not private use, shared. Young Winston Churchill Balmoral visit, Victoria gave cocaine gum. Enthusiastic, believed beneficial. Imagine, young man, try cocaine, It'll invigorate. Before judging, grasp, Victorian Britain blurred medicine drugs line. Opiates everywhere. Cough syrups, pain meds, child teething powders. Cocaine health tonic, marijuana women's issues. Not vices, modern medicine. But Victoria's substance ties not personal, political. Here story disturbs. As Victoria sipped morning laudanum, empire economic crisis. Britain tea addicted from China. Literal, 1830s, massive imports. Public obsessed, afternoon tea national. Issue, China wanted not British. Silk, porcelain, tea theirs. Britain's silver hemorrhaging, nothing returned. Trade unsustainable. British East India Company, India quasi-government, devised awful, cynical fix. Grow opium India, sell China. Opium addictive, hook people, they'd pay. Perfect economically, sans ethics. Exactly. British India mass-produced opium, shipped China. Trickle to torrent. Victoria's queenship, opium 15 to 20% British India revenue. Empire funded by dealing. Chinese horrified. Millions addicted. Productivity fell. Families ruined. Society frayed. 1838. Emperor named Lin Zexu, halt opium any means. Scholar, philosopher, right doer. Tried diplomacy. Wrote Queen Victoria letter, archived. Heartbreaking. Noted honorable nation forbade opium smoking. If banned yours, more prohibit others. Why export forbidden home? Fair query. Britain domestic opium ban, sort of, but flooded China. Lin noted hypocrisy. Appealed morality, decency. Victoria unread or unresponsive. Government dismissed. So Lin acted. Spring 1839. Intercepted British Canton fleet. Seized 20,000 opium chests, £2 million. Dumped sea publicly. Destroyed. Morally reasonable. Illegal drugs smuggled. Britain, property theft. Demanded repayment. China refused. Dark. Victoria's government war on China. Called free trade defense, but known, protect drug sales. First Opium War, 1839 to 1842. British Navy superior, unequal. Bombarded coasts, killed thousands, forced surrender. Treaty of Nanking, 1842, lopsided. China paid Britain for destroyed opium. Opened 5 ports, more opium. Ceded Hong Kong. Britain held 155 years, all for stopping drug epidemic. But continued. China resisted. Second Opium War, 1856 to 1860, brutal. British-French burned Beijing Old Summer Palace, cultural loss. More ports, opium. 1880s, 20 to 40 million Chinese addicted. 40 million. Britain balanced trade, funded empire. Victoria continued, morning laudanum, cocaine. Oversaw drug-funded empire. Guilty? Ironic? Record silent. Perhaps rationalized. Medical use, doctor's care. Differed Chinese dens? Except not. Addiction, same. Queen Palace laudanum, or laborer slum opium. Dependency, inability function without. Life control same. Haunts. Victoria no monster, devoted mother. 9 children, complained pregnancy. Deeply loved Albert, mourned 1861 death lifelong. Duty serious, cared empire her way. Yet complicit history's largest drug operation. Benefited, empire funded partly. Never questioned right, far known. Victoria's paradox. Remembered prim moral icon. Victorian-era strict codes, repression. But era definer used multiple drugs, profited creating millions addicts. Disconnects staggering. Perhaps lesson, addiction, moral certainty coexist. History's addicted, often judgmental. Saw others' flaws, blind own. Victoria condemned failings, ignored empire wealth base. But Victoria's pharmaceutical pursuits weren't monarchy's scandalousest addiction. Far from. As she built foreign drug empire, son built home pleasure empire. Appetites vast, requiring custom seat. His name Edward, addictions made Victoria's morning laudanum seem tame. Albert Edward, parents named after father, born suffocating world. Mother Victoria monitored constantly, fearing uncle-like dissoluteness. Father Prince Albert crafted rigorous education, demanding, breathless. No peers, freedom, childhood. Then 1861, change. Edward 19, Grenadier Guards Curragh Camp, Dublin. Officers noted, future king virgin. Unacceptable. Arranged Irish actress Nellie Clifton smuggled quarters. What followed varies historian. Consensus, Nellie transformed Edward. Returned confident, aware life's missing part. Pleasure discovered, wanted more. Issue, parents learned. Prince Albert mortified. Wrote letter calling behavior disgusting, warning consequences self, family, nation. Traveled Cambridge November 1861 confront personally. Cold, rainy. Albert unwell, went vital. 2 weeks later, dead. Typhoid officially. Victoria blamed Edward. Stress son's transgression killed beloved. Mourned black 40 years. Each Edward glance saw son disappointing father, fatally. Imagine guilt. Mother blaming father's death for sex. Crushing. Except Edward didn't guilt. Did exactly father warned against. More women, liaisons, everything. Fascinating. Edward not ashamed sneaking. Almost defiant. 1863, 2 years post-father, married Princess Alexandra, Denmark. Beautiful, graceful, princess ideal. Edward seemed genuinely fond. 6 children, many accounts happy union. But Edward's happiness, not monogamy. Far. Years post-marriage, pattern set. Marlborough house set. Wealthy, stylish friends sharing parties, racing, wagering, extramarital. Not hidden. Semi-open, high society aware. Alexandra knew. Strange, okay, or appeared. Welcomed Edward's paramours home. Polite socially. Historian called comfortable agreement. Affairs discreet, home eventually. But women's stories matter. Lily Langtry first major. Jersey Lily, born Jersey Island. 1870s London arrival sensation. Clergyman's daughter, no nobility, stunning. Artists painted, society sought. Edward infatuated. Affair about 3 years, 1877-1880. Edward besotted. Launched actress career, influence roles, reviews. But ended poorly. Lily pregnant, likely not Edward's, other lover. Edward distanced scandal. Suddenly attentive prince vanished. Lily faced judgment alone. Unfair. Ostracized, gossiped, reputation ruined. Edward moved next. Privilege. Consequences unequal. Next, Daisy Brooke, later Countess Warwick. Affair 9 years, longer most. Married aristocrat, vivacious, opinionated, indiscreet. Babbling Brooke, secret keeper fail, but Daisy intriguing. Post-Edward, socialist, wrote inequality, poor plight, wrong luxury amid starvation. Historians think Edward excess radicalized. Later founded charities, advocated reform. Saw glittering affairs, parties, thought disgusting. But scandal nearly ruined Edward, 1869. Not mistress, husband. Sir Charles Mordaunt, parliamentarian suspected wife. Lady Harriet Mordaunt affair. Child born possible hereditary eye issue. Harriet breakdown. Confessed adultery several, including Prince Wales. Charles divorce suit. Named Edward co-respondent. Edward testify court. Heir throne witness box. Questions slept another's wife. Unprecedented. Humiliating. Victoria enraged, embarrassed. February 1870. Edward court. Newspapers frenzy. Thousands courtroom attempt. Edward swore visits. Letters innocent. Judge believed or chose cleared. Reputation hit. Theater post. Booed. Insults. First real public backlash. Changed? Not. Better hiding. Now Paris. London appearances. Paris release. Favorite. Le Chabanais brothel Rue Chabanais 2nd arrondissement. Not any. Luxurious. Expensive. Exclusive. Themed rooms. Medieval. Indian. Japanese. Women most beautiful. Sophisticated. Edward regular. Own room. Story wild. 1890s. Edward heavy. Near 300 pounds. Logistical romance challenges. Commissioned custom furniture. Louis Soubrier cabinet maker. Exists museum called Love Chair. Complex. Seat supports. Stirrups ease Edward's size. Craftsmanship fine leather. Fabric engineered. Tells Edward willing commission artisans facilitate activities. Some say sex addiction. Others libertine culture. Wealthy men brothels. Edward visible royal. But custom furniture suggests compulsion. Edward's urges not sex alone. Gambled heavily. 1890 Tranbycroft Yorkshire house party trouble. Edward friends played baccarat. Illegal Britain. Lieutenant Colonel Sir William Gordon Cumming accused cheating. Gentleman code. No cheat. Caught except quietly. Signed never cards. But sued slander. False accusation. Edward testify again. Illegal gambling. Prince Wales admit regular illegal game. Scandal huge. Trial details. Edward's gambling extent. Frequency. Public shocked. Future king law-breaking. Vast bets. Claiming respectability. Edward questioned carrying gambling counters. Answer. Always. Like play wherever. Case damaged reputation. 50s. Pattern set. Affairs. Gambling. Parties. Food. Excess continued. What drove? Fascinates. Edward everything. Wealth. Status. Loving wife. Children. Adoration. Why insufficient? Answer. Childhood. Constant surveillance. Criticism. Pressure. Perfect. Father's death. Mother's blame. Unhealed wound. Adult life seeking pleasure. Validation. Momentary good. Textbook addiction. External fill. Internal void. Told. 50s health struggle. Obesity. Hard walk. Gout. Breath short. Doctors warned. Slow. Slim. Stop cigars. Massive meals. Ignored. But one woman stayed end. Alice Keppel, 1898, Edward, 56, she, 29. Discreet, smart, politically sharp, smoothed Edward's tempers, navigated court. Alexandra preferred Alice, behaved properly. Edward King, 1901, Alice, shadow queen. Advised politics, hosted essential gatherings, Compensated, not cash, scandalous, but rubber company shares, investments, wealth. Edward's bankers managed, secured husband jobs. System keep mistress royal luxury. Edward dying May 1910 wanted Alice. Alexandra allowed bedside, but patience ended. Witnesses told doctors remove that woman. Alice escorted sobbing. Edward's last words, horse racing. Son future George V told Horse One Kempton Park. Edward smiled, I am very glad. Unconscious, died. 68. Autopsy, enlarged heart, diseased liver, tumors. Body failed decades excess. Newspapers harsh. The Times, death unsurprising lifestyle. Others direct, eaten, drunk, smoked, pleasured death. But strange, despite scandals, affairs, gambling, excess, many mourned Edward. Good king his way, public charming, eased Britain-France tensions diplomacy, liked flaws known. Perhaps Edward's addictions relatable, sex, food, gambling understandable, though not extreme. Easier grasp than Queen Opium Empire or Prince Millions debts. But Edward addicted, couldn't stop, didn't want, ultimately killed him. Appetites consumed. Yet Edward's tale one addiction type, obvious, visible, newspaper, courtroom. Another wove palace, quieter, insidious, acceptable, perhaps dangerous. Everyone doctors to mothers to royals deemed normal. Laudanum age, grip British upper classes absolute. Imagine entering Victorian London pharmacy, year 1850. Behind polished counter, glass bottles gleam, labels elegant script. Approach pharmacist, white-coated respectable, say sleepless or child teething cries, or rheumatism aches. No questions, no prescription, reaches brown bottle, laudanum, reassuring smile, 2 shillings bottle, 20 drops water bedtime, sleep like baby. And you would. Bottle enough opium adult knockout, marketed safe newborns elderly. Laudanum age, not royals alone, saturated society levels. Difference, Duchess addicted nervous condition needing care. Factory worker, moral weakness, depravity. Same drug, addiction, narratives differ. Share names shaping Victorian culture. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, great poet, started opium 1791 rheumatic pain. 19. Next 43 years till 1834 death, dependent. Pills or laudanum daily. Poetry, Kubla Khan. Rhyme, ancient mariner, reportedly influenced. Private letters, honest struggle. Called slavery, shame. Tried stop, couldn't. Promised 1 dose, broke hours later. Familiar? Addiction voice centuries. Heartbreaking. Daughter Sarah Coleridge, laudanum dependent. Confided friends sleepless without. Past parent-child, not genes alone, normalization. Father daily, doctor prescribed, how no dangerous. Thomas de Quincey further. 1821 published Confessions English opium eater, vivid prose addiction. Divine pleasures, music profound, colors vibrant, thoughts clear. But nightmares, withdrawal, life around next dose. Book sensation, everyone read. Wild, didn't deter, made curious. De Quincey romanticized, tortured genius. Readers loved. George Eliot Middlemarch author included opium novels. Silas Marner character Molly Farron addicted, Eliot honest. Desperate, degraded, destroyed. Victorian literature truthful portrayal. Wilkie Collins, Moonstone, author took laudanum gout, 1860s. Massive doses, quantities lethal. Hallucinations, green-skinned woman following, ghost woman. kept writing. Best work while opiates outmined. Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Laudanum, spinal injury. Lord Byron experimented. Percy Shelley took. John Keats took. Not fringe, literary giants defining culture, all opiates. But not famous alone. Laudanum everywhere, cheap, penny bought high. Accessible poor, Victorian moral crisis. Industrial towns, Fenlands, East Anglia, damp, miserable. Laudanum epidemic. Women gave children quiet fields work. Factory workers doled 12-hour shifts. Elderly ached relief. Godfrey's cordial marketed babies, children. Soothe teething, calm fussy, sleep. Not bold, opium lots. Parents, infants, babies hours still, barely breathe. Some never woke. 1843, Coventry inquest, infant deaths. Revealed Godfrey's, similar opium syrups responsible. Coroner horrified. Products marketed decades profitable. Power admitted poisoning children accidentally. Ponder. Victorian Britain moral certainty. Proper behavior lectures. Drugged babies unconscious. Some died. Society shrugged. Kept buying. Class mattered. Middle, upper, especially women, dependent, medicalized. Doctors prescribed hysteria, neurasthenia, vague woman stress. Not addicts, delicate constitutions needing support. Took laudanum, private drawing rooms, crystal decanters, silver spoons. Doctors visited, adjusted, expensive treatments. Nobody called drug addicts. Unwell, refined ladies, nervous dispositions. Working class dependent, vice, moral failure, inferior nature. Same dependency, withdrawal, desperation. Poor, weak, rich, sensitive. Royals ladder. Victoria regular laudanum, not alone. Court records show laudanum prescribed freely household. Ladies in waiting, headaches. Courtiers, anxiety events. Common as aspirin today. Little known, royal palaces withdrawal rooms. Quiet chambers less trafficked, retreat. Opium withdrawal effects, sweating, shaking, nausea. Official, recovery minor illnesses. But no, suffer private till next dose normal. Medical establishment complicit. 1800s doctors little addiction training, thought prescribed legitimate, addiction impossible. Believed difference, pain versus pleasure. But body indifferent, brain uncaring reason. Opiates bind receptors, flood feel good, brain adapts less natural, need drug normal. Addiction, gout, grief, or day. Advertising jaw-dropping. Newspapers, Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup. Morphine ads, peaceful babies, grateful mothers. Chlorodyne, opium cure coughs, colds, consumption. Laudanum, tagline, friend man, all else fails. Technically true, friend till not. Till couldn't stop, controlled life. Turning point, slow. 1860s to 70s, doctors' papers, opiate dependence, documented withdrawal. Tracked patients couldn't stop healed pain. Understood, medical, not moral. 1868, Pharmacy Act, opium, laudanum, registered pharmacists only. Labeled, under 16, no buy. Start, you walk by no prescription. 1880s to 90s, anti-opium movement. Religious Quakers campaigned domestic, abroad. Pamphlets, devastation, protests, lobbied. Change slow, powerful much lose. Opium trade 15 to 20% British India revenue. Pharma profits, opium meds. Doctors reluctant admit prescribed addictive decades. Patients wealthy didn't admit dependent. Early 1900s. Aspirin, new pain meds replaced laudanum. Doctors' alternatives, but damage done. Generations British royals, factory workers, opiates. Some addicted, some died. All lived, period. Addictive substance, cough syrup available. Hans laudanum age. Seemed normal. Nobody aimed epidemic. Doctors thought helping. Parents, babies thought soothing. Ladies' nerves thought medicine, not addiction. But intentions irrelevant, powerful chemical. Good intentions no prevent dependence. Respectability no make addiction less real. Laudanum age teaches, addiction no vacuum. Shaped society, available, acceptable, access. Royals' morning laudanum ritual, not differ factory worker shift. Same trap, different hide resources. But laudanum, one chapter, royal addiction. Pre-Victorian, pre-empire, peak other royals, addiction shaped history profound. Gambling, lost kingdoms, gluttony legendary. Behavior excessive laid groundwork after. Understand British royals, complicated, addiction, relation, go back. Tudor Georgian courts, patterns emerged, appetite, policy, excess, tradition. Long before Victoria's morning laudanum, George IV gambling debts, king set template, royal excess. Legendary, even 500 years later, everyone knows. Married 6, broke Catholic Church, transformed England. Appetites insatiable. Henry VIII didn't change history, marriages, politics, changed addictions. Born 1491, Henry, King 17, young, athletic, handsome. Accounts over 6 feet tall, era giant. Powerful build, jousting, hunting, tire multiple horses day. Energetic, charismatic, fairy tale prince. But Henry, problem grew, reign. Couldn't control appetites any. Start gambling began. Loved chance games, cards, dice, joust, bets, tennis wagers. Henry did not small. Royal accounts, staggering losses, modern. One bad week, 1520, Henry lost equivalent £400,000, 7 days, dice. Treasurer panicking, cover without taxes. Henry shrugged, win back next week. Rarely. But Henry's gambling differed George IV's. King. No parliament bailout, wait. Take more taxes, confiscate fallen nobles, dissolve monasteries, seize wealth did. Historians cite religious, political reasons dissolution. Made Henry wealthy, probably helped. Henry's famous gambling, field cloth gold, 1520. Meeting King Francis the France, broker peace. Really competition, lavish, expensive, over-top party history. Henry brought court France, erected temporary palace, cloth gold fabric, woven gold thread. Fountains, wine tournaments, feasts, hours. Gambling. Henry Francis bet enormous wrestling, archery games. Whole England treasury over £20 million today. Party, 3 weeks. Accomplished nothing politically. Henry Francis war years later. But gambling not only. Food. Seen portraits young Henry versus old? Shocking. Young, slim, athletic, vigorous. Old, massive. 50s waist, 54 inches. Lifted horse mechanical. Leg ulcers unheal, likely weight circulation. Constant pain kept eating. Royal banquets legendary, menu survive. Typical dinner, roasted swans, peacocks, sewn feathers, post-cook. Entire deer meat pies, sugar sculptures, course after course. One feast, over 30 dishes, first course. Henry ate hours, literally. Start early afternoon, midnight. Not small. Platters, meat, whole birds, amounts feed modern family weeks. Why? Historians argue, display wealth, power. Peacock, swan, show rich. But conspicuous consumption, compulsion point. Henry not impress alone. Eating couldn't stop. Physician Thomas Vickery treated ailments, leg ulcers, obesity, mobility. Never addiction. Concept didn't exist. Describes patient couldn't moderate despite health consequences. Addiction, modern. Sad. Henry's weight contributed. No surviving adult male heir. Less fertile. Pain, irritable, paranoid. Explain later. Brutal decisions. Behead 2 wives. Appetites, youthful enthusiasm. Compulsions shaped policy. Destroyed lives, altered English history. Henry control eating, gambling obsessions. England's history differ, never know. Worth consider. Fast forward 200 years, Georgian era. Henry, gambling, bad. Georgian aristocracy, new level. 1714 to 1830, 4 King Georges gambling endemic. Upper classes threaten social order. Not friendly. Small stakes, men lose entire fortunes, estates, one night. Story bizarre, true documented. 1719 Duke Richmond, massive debts. Solution? Married 18-year son, 13-year daughter, Earl Cadogan, payment debts. Read again, sold teenage son, marriage, settle gambling. Married boy set away, saw wife, 16. Imagine, girl, 13, stranger married father-in-law. Couldn't stop cards? Not isolated. Georgian estates changed hands, debts. Ancient homes lost baccarat. Generations' fortunes wiped, evening. Pharaoh destructive. Simple bet cards dealt odds. Favor house play, long. Lose. Georgian aristocrats, hours, days, accounts, 48-hour games, fortunes shift. Famous Whites Club, London, founded 1693, exists oldest gentlemen's. 1700s, notorious. Betting book, insane wagers. Bet raindrop window, bottom first. Particular elderly member, die when. Anything. Infamous 2 aristocrats wager, man collapsed, street, dead, unconscious. Suggest help, gamblers protested. Effect bet, addiction deep. Man's life less settle, wager. Charles James Fox, George IV, friend, lost everything gambling. Multiple. Father buy back estates repeatedly. Lifetime losses, £7 million today. Fox not unusual. Prominent politician, visible. Scottish estates hit hard. Laird Glenley, Robert Campbell, gambled entire property late 1600s. Spent fortune. Castle renovate, needed pay. Gambled, lost, sold everything. Ancient forests, family, generations. Harvest rush, massive flooding, destroyed. More, gambling ruined completely. James Douglas, 2nd Marquess Douglas, lost much, sold Tantallon Castle, properties end 17th century. 1820, Lord Napier sold Kilmore's Castle, pay gambling debts. Highland clearances, tenants forcibly removed. Lands, some owners, motivation service gambling debts. Needed cash, cleared land. People rented, sheep, farmers sink in. Communities displaced, families, generations land, forced, emigrate. Wealthy men couldn't stop gambling. Authorities, gambling, illegal. Britain much, period. Laws rarely enforced. Aristocracy fine. Prosecute, working class street, dice. Nobles, whites, gentlemen, being gentlemen. Cultural, Georgian society man, world, comfortable, risk, gentleman expected, bet, horses, cards, chances. Too cautious, money, cowardly. Culture encouraged gambling, sophistication, mark. One king era seemed escape gambling. George III. George IV. Father disapproved, excesses. George III. Modest lifestyle, didn't gamble heavily, no lavish parties, simple king. But George III. Own addiction struggles. Medical treatments probably harm, good. Famous madness. Several mental illness episodes. Life, including 1811, led son Prince Regent. Years historians thought insane. 1960s researchers proposed porphyria. Rare metabolic disorder. Symptoms like mental illness. Treatments intense. Treatment insane. Restraints, isolation, blistering agents, skin, draw, madness, massive medications. One opium, another antimony, toxic metal. Emetics, vomit, purgatives, idea. Doctors help, essentially poisoning. King seen doing something, kept even not working. No, George. Dependent medications, given opium regularly, pain, calm episodes. Time, body tolerance, symptoms clear. Periods partly withdrawal. Doctors not understand, gave more, create cycle. George III's story, addiction not always deliberate. Excess, sometimes treatment. Dangerous substances prescribed. Best intentions, talked gambling. Medication, another addiction. Royal family, generations, food, touched. Henry VIII, not alone. Royal history, elaborate feasting, display power. Medieval, early modern banquets, performances, dishes, order, importance, courses, number, status, ingredients, rarity, expense, wealth. But line, display, control appetite, many crossed. George IV, 4 enormous meals, day, obese, barely move. Breakfast alone, massive, full English, ×5. Then lunch, tea, pastries, dinner, hours. Doctors begged less, couldn't. Food addiction, tricky, can't quit eating, like gambling, drinking, need food, live. But eating compulsive, consume far more need despite health. When food, primary comfort, pleasure, addiction. Royals, food always available. No tell king no more. Kitchens fulfill whim. Midnight feast, done. Exotic empire shipped, no problem. Eat sick, then more. Your Majesty, wish. Health, brutal. Gout, endemic royals. Uric acid crystals, joints, excruciating pain. Diet-related, red meat, alcohol. Henry VIII had, George IV had. Many Georgian aristocrats. Called disease, kings, common, wealthy. Obesity, heart disease, shortened lifespans. Price, unlimited food, no labor. Yet generation continued, same patterns. Why? Not personal choices. Cultural expectations. Royal excess tradition. Prove royal. Breaking traditions, admit old ways harmful. Question. Monarchs behave different, unthinkable, until women questioned. Male royals, public excesses, gamble, clubs, feast, banquets, generally wanted. Female royals, careful, addictions hidden, managed, treated, medical, not moral failings. Difference gap. Male-female royal addiction perceived, handled, story, pain, pressure, substances, cope, impossible expectations. Photograph, 1965 tells everything. Princess Margaret. Party 1, many, cigarette, one hand, drink, other. eyes half closed, suggests several drinks past caring. 35. Beautiful, fashionable Queen's sister. Looks exhausted, not physically, soul. Margaret Rose, born 1930, younger daughter King George VI, Queen Elizabeth. Never particularly important, royal terms. Older sister Elizabeth, Queen. Margaret could be herself, or everyone thought. Being herself, impossible, royal enough. Trapped, rules, not royal enough, real power. Couldn't marry, wanted. Couldn't pursue career. Couldn't escape scrutiny. Could show up, smile, wave, somehow cope. Perpetually secondary. Turn things feel good or less trapped, no, certain. Margaret smoked heavily, teen onward, not few. 60 cigarettes day, peak, fingers yellow, voice gravelly, rasp. 60s, health. Doctor said smoking destroyed lungs, kept anyway. Drank lot. Preferred vodka, whiskey mix, mama, papa proportions. Start, afternoon, night. Parties, staff, watered, drinks, unnoticed. Otherwise embarrassingly intoxicated. Harder substances, controversial. 2002 Noel Botham biography. Allegation, 1967 Margaret snorted cocaine. Dressing room before Rolling Stones concert. Sources not isolated. Margaret experimented. Cocaine, multiple 1960s-70s London party scene. Careful. Allegation never proven. Royal family never confirmed. Margaret died 2002. Never public address. But multiple new, suggested, sometimes direct, sometimes implication. Margaret's substance beyond alcohol, cigarettes. No certain documented medical records later released. 1974. Margaret, massive sedative overdose. After fighting husband Lord Snowdon, marriage crumbling, affairs both, making miserable, couldn't divorce, royals didn't. Before Diana Charles. Particular night, Margaret called close friend, early morning, threatened window jump if not come. Friend panicked, called Queen Elizabeth. Elizabeth's response, continue business. Margaret's bedroom ground floor, hardly danger, sink in. Margaret, crisis threatening self-harm. Sister's reaction, basically dramatic, ignore. Whether Margaret actually tried hurt or desperate attention, desperately crying attention, crisis, own kind. Ended taking dangerous sleeping pills, survived incident, showed deeply unhappy, family's response, minimize, dismiss, pain. Queen's attitude reflected broader, royal family mental health addiction approach, put mildly, not great. Palace circle's phrase, if cold, put sweater. Handle own problems, don't complain, don't fuss. Tough out. Worked great, slightly chilly. Terribly, depression, addiction, suicidal ideation. Margaret told, put sweater. Drowning. Unhappiness meant self-medicated. Found solutions, bottles, pills, allegedly white powder. Female royalty, women not supposed. Problems admitting, struggling, unbecoming. Suffered, largely private, maintaining public, glamorous rebelliousness. But Margaret not first female royal struggle substances. Back further, talked Victoria, Laudanum, discuss specific context, certain substances. Victoria birth, 9 times, 9 pregnancies, 17 years, hated. Private letters, diaries, survived show found. Pregnancy, disgusting. Childbirth, terrifying. Chloroform, available 1840s anesthesia. Victoria, eager. 1853, 8th child, Prince Leopold. Dr. John Snow administered. Controversial. Many doctors thought dangerous, inappropriate. Religious leaders argued women suffer childbirth. Eve's sin, punishment. Argument made. Victoria didn't care. Used chloroform afterward, called delightful beyond measure. Used 9th, 1857. Advocated publicly. Queen endorsement legitimized. Soon other wealthy women requested. Chloroform. Proper medical, not addiction. Anesthesia. But thing. Once Victoria experienced relief, substance open others' discomforts. Laudanum daily. Stress cannabis tincture. Menstrual cramps. Cocaine. Energy. Established pattern. Life difficult. Body hurts. Mind won't settle. Reach chemical fix. Royal women. Life often difficult. Ways men not. Couldn't control. Marry. Politics. Dynasty. Expected produce heirs, preferably male. Failed. Blamed. Now no. Father's genetics determine sex. Almost no power. All scrutiny. Every outfit, appearance, expression, analyzed, criticized. Wonder, some drank, used drugs, found escape? Here's most don't know. Many royal women prescribed nerve tonics, doctor's tonics. Supposedly female hysteria, neurasthenia. Various vague conditions. Basically, woman Victorian society stressful. Tonics? Alcohol. Opium. Sometimes both. Later, barbiturates, sedatives. Royal woman prescribed nerve tonic 3 times day, not considered addict. Delicate, sensitive constitution, needed medical support. Building tolerance, couldn't function without chemically dependent. None mattered. Doctor prescribed. Socially acceptable. Compare male addiction viewed. Edward VII gambled. Brothels. People tutted, shrugged. Boys. George IV drank. Oblivion. Character flaw. Somewhat expected. Status. Male excess. Problematic. Almost admired. Perverse. Showed appetite, vitality, lack restraint. Masculine coded. Female excess. Shameful, unladylike, moral failure. Woman drank too much. Not alcoholic. Disgrace. Sex. Woman used drugs. Not struggling. Addiction. Weak. Hysterical. Unfit. Motherhood. Royal women hide addictions carefully. Men took pills. Private. Staff discreet. Doctors euphemistic. Records. Princess requires ongoing pharmacological support. Nervous condition. Translation. Addicted. Sedatives calling treatment. Princess Margaret's life shows dynamic. Perfectly. 1950s. Fell love Peter Townsend. Divorced RAF officer, equerry father. Early 20s. 16 years older, genuinely loved. Problem. Divorced. Royal Marriages Act. Margaret needed Queen's permission marry before 25. After Parliaments. Church, England. Queen had not recognized remarriage divorce. Mess. 1955. Years, will they, won't they? Margaret forced choose loved man. Royal position, chose position. Public statement, decided not marry Peter Townsend. Church teachings, knew devastated. 25, given up great love, duty, rules, born, family, personal happiness, 2nd, 3rd, 10th, after duty. Tradition. Started drinking more, smoking more, partying harder. Else? Couldn't marry love. Couldn't normal career. Couldn't escape Princess Margaret. Least control body, even control, became lost control. 1960. Married Anthony Armstrong Jones, later Lord Snowdon. Not love match, Peter Townsend. Photographer, charming, artistic. Margaret thought may be happy. 2 children. Marriage troubled start. Affairs both. Fought constantly. Armstrong Jones, cruel streak. Cutting remarks, public, humiliated Margaret. Margaret drinking heavily, increasingly difficult live. 1970s, relationship toxic. Divorce, huge scandal royals. Separated 1976, divorced 1978. First royal divorce centuries. Through Margaret's substance escalated. More drinking, more pills, allegedly. Biographies, accounts, people knew. Occasional cocaine, London party scene. Tragic story, Margaret's stroke, 1998. First several led death, 2002. Heavy smoker, overweight, drinking, taking pills decades. Body beaten. Years, substance. Last years, partially paralyzed, depression, physically deteriorating. Funeral 2002. Friend reportedly said, most vibrant, alive person knew. Trapped whole life. Only way, deal, dull pain. Real tragedy, Princess Margaret. Not used substances symptom. Tragedy. Bright, talented, charismatic, given no meaningful purpose, decorative, obedient. Pressure, loneliness, lack control, too much self-medicated. Nobody really helped. Helping mean admitting problem royal family didn't admit problems. Pattern, women struggling substances, system denied, minimized, not unique Margaret. Part, royal history generations. Difference now media scrutiny, slightly. Open mental health discussions, harder, hide. Most history, female royal addiction swept expensive carpets. Doctors paid discreet, staff silence. Princess, duchess, breakdown, rest quietly, sent private, recovered, or fake recovery, resume duties. Question haunts. How many royal women suffered silence? How many called difficult, hysterical, actually crying help? How many given substances, well-meaning doctors made worse? No Margaret, recent public documented. Other stories successfully buried. One's medicine cabinets discreetly cleaned inventory. Really there? All addictions talked. Gambling, sex, laudanum, food. Massive institutional system, hide problem extent. Doctors loyal, crown first, courtiers expert. Scandals disappear. Financial advisors hide money trails. Center organization perfected, maintaining appearances regardless behind closed doors. Called firm, job protect, monarchy costs. Even meant enabling addictions, destroying within. Firm, royals call themselves private. Not royal family, not monarchy, firm. Telling words? Firms make money, have employees, protect brand costs. Exactly British monarchy centuries, carefully managed corporation, product, prestige, threat, product neutralized. Talk, royal addiction can't. Individual struggling substances, compulsions. Talk, system enabled, protected, kept problems hidden. Public long possible. Every royal addict, dozens. People, job ensure, world never found. Introduce important, never heard. Sir William Knighton, 1820. George IV King, massive problem beyond health. Debts everywhere. Outstanding loans unpaid, gambling markers, IOUs. London creditors aggressive. George King couldn't bankruptcy normal. King, England. Debtor's court, unthinkable. Enter Knighton, George's private secretary, real job fixer. Specialty making financial problems disappear. Knighton 1820s elaborate financial wizardry. Quietly approach creditors, negotiate settlements, less full amount, hefty dose, wouldn't unfortunate majesty. Remembered lack discretion, award royal patronage. By George's outstanding debts, gambling partners, sometimes intermediaries. Seller didn't know, dealing crown. Shuffle money accounts, make modern forensic accountants dizzy. Worked, George died 1830. Most debts quietly resolved. Not paid full, Knighton clever, settled, buried, go away. Negotiation, intimidation, creative accounting. Knighton's work effective. Parliament never full accounting. George's debts bad. Today, historians debate true total records deliberately obscured. Some destroyed, others filed nearly impossible trace. Knighton paid £10,000 year over $1 million today. Essentially keep George's financial disasters public disasters. But financial fixes one part machinery. Real gatekeepers saw everything, controlled dangerous information, royal physicians. Royal doctor, not regular. Needed medical training credentials, also something else. Absolute loyalty. Royal physicians oath beyond Hippocratic, swore loyalty crown. Understood first duty, not patient health, monarchy's reputation. Created problematic dynamics. George IV clearly addicted laudanum. Doctors kept prescribing. Obesity killing, suggested mild dietary changes, never insisted. Why? Insisting mean acknowledge severity, acknowledge public. Anything public threat, crown. Physicians kept meticulous records, some survived. Records, careful language. Instead, king addicted opiates. His Majesty continues require laudanum management chronic pain. Instead, king ate heart disease. His Majesty experiences difficulty ambulation due constitution. Documented everything, admitting nothing. Royal physician violate trust. Speak publicly, seeing career over, not. Royals everywhere. Medical establishment Britain understood, not cross-firm. Dr. Thomas Vickery treated Henry VIII, witnessed decline. Obesity. Paranoia kept observations extremely vague. Published works knew happened too specific. System loyal. Silence extended beyond doctors. Every staff, royal household signed non-disclosure agreements. Couldn't talk, saw, heard, cleaned, not employed. Not left, not ever. Penalty, breaking lawsuits, pension loss, social ostracism, never work aristocratic households again. Think means. Edward VII's valet dressed mourning, saw deteriorating body. Servants cleaned rooms, knew drinking. Drivers took Chavonnaise, Paris knew going. None say word. Press crucial, machinery piece, 19th early 20th centuries Britain. Newspapers, gentleman's agreement, not publish certain royals unless scandal, massive, ignore. Royal correspondence access depended good palace relationships. One unflattering story, lose access forever. Edward VII caught gambling scandals, divorce cases, press coverage remarkably restrained. Juicy details reported trials, public record editorial comment muted. Newspapers described court happened, rarely editorialize, meant monarchy, not journalism. Complicity. Palace people job managing press, provide approved stories, keep journalists happy. Grant exclusive interviews, cooperative publications. Freeze stepped line. Carrot stick system kept most royal scandals full investigative treatment deserved. But problem severe, internal management not enough. Royal addiction spiraling, rehab necessary. Tell Nicholas Knatchbull. Not famous royals discussed, story important, shows. System operates modern times. Nicholas' grandson, Earl Mountbatten, Burma. Basically royal association, marriage. Also King Charles's godson. Very inner circle. Late 1980s, Nicholas study, University Edinburgh. Within 6 months expelled. Drug use, not marijuana, casual, hard drugs, heroin, cocaine, serious. Parents devastated. Tabloids wind couldn't completely buried. Palace spin doctors overdrive. Story framed cautionary tale. Young man, fallen, wrong crowd, not systemic. Royal circles. Nicholas sent private rehabilitation facility £10,000 month, roughly $16,000 1990s money, probably $25,000 today. Monthly. Context. More many British families earned year. Treatment. Months. Who paid? Official family resources. Given amounts. Mountbatten family financial situation. Time. Speculation. Palace funds. Taxpayer money covered part. Never know. Sure. Financial records not public. Important. Nicholas got help. Expensive private discreet help. Kept press, much possible. Gave recover chance. Good addiction medical people deserve treatment, but uncomfortable question, how many regular British people struggling addiction 1990s access £10,000 month private rehab? System. Protected. Own. Connected. Royal family resources appeared. Not. Good luck. NHS waitlist. Fast forward 2002. Prince Harry, 17, caught marijuana drinking underage pub near father's estate. Could massive scandal. Third line throne. Beloved Princess Diana's son, illegal drugs. Tabloids salivating. Charles, William stepped immediately. Accounts. William suggested intervention strategy. Charles arranged Harry Day Featherstone Lodge residential rehab, South London. Harry met recovering heroin, cocaine addicts, heard stories, saw drug use lead. Genuine concern? Absolutely. Charles worried son. Also damage control. Proactively arrange visit, leak, press, controlled way. Prince Harry visits rehab, learn dangers drugs. Palace spun. Potential disaster story. Responsible parenting, young prince, learning important lesson. Press coverage largely positive. Charles, decisive action. Harry faces consequences. Could destroyed Harry's reputation. Instead, demonstration royal accountability. Firm's machinery adapted. 21st century media landscape worked perfectly. But most don't know. Harry's substance use not stop. 2002 intervention. Years later, memoir, Spare, Harry revealed used cocaine, marijuana, psychedelic mushrooms, 20s, early 30s. 2002 rehab visit, essentially show PR move temporarily satisfied press without addressing underlying issues. Years Harry continued. Substances. Palace maintained narrative, learned lesson. Staff knew. Security knew. Close friends knew. Wall silence held firm. Does controls narrative. Machinery evolved. Time George IV era. Hiding paper trails. Paying creditors. Edward VII. Time keeping affairs quiet. Managing court testimony. Margaret era. Medical euphemisms, carefully managed public appearances. Harry's era. Controlling media narratives, strategic leaks. Fundamental purpose, same. Protect institution. even means enabling individuals to decline. Darkest part. Sometimes cover up important cure, keeping secret priority, solving, maintaining appearances, matters more actual health. People suffer, don't get help. Need when need, getting help mean admitting problem. Admitting problems, not firm does. Princess Margaret suffered decades substance issues, minimized, hidden. How different life if instead discreet doctors prescribing pills got real psychological help. Depression, trauma. System prioritized well-being. Monarchy's image, never know. Machine kept running. Designed, protect crown. Hide cracks. Maintain illusion. Perfect royal dignity. Even illusion destroying. People trapped inside. Anything really changed? Methods sophisticated. Firm uses social media strategists. Instead, newspaper editors. Employ crisis management consultants. Instead, simple fixers. Priorities different. 21st century seen royal addiction play real time. Watched princesses struggle publicly. Substances, mental health pressures, royal life. Seen some try break free. Systems speak openly. Struggles, ask help public ways. Firm never allowed before. Happened, did? Broke silence maintained centuries, said loud. Everyone pretending not see, things got really interesting. Modern era royal addiction, not just substances anymore. Battle, transparency, tradition, personal healing, institutional preservation, honest pain, maintaining, stiff upper lip, royal brand, long, center, battle, stand, generation, royals, grew, therapy less stigmatized, addiction, disease, not moral failing, expectation, even public figures allowed human, trying, break cycles persisted centuries, some succeeding, some struggling, some caught between, honor, history not destroyed. January 2023, Prince Harry published memoir Spare. Title tells, Spare, heir backup didn't matter much. Book something no senior royal ever, told truth. Not sanitized palace approved. Real uncomfortable, sometimes ugly truth, growing royal cope trauma, whatever means. Harry revealed. Used cocaine, not once, twice, experimentally, enough new doing. Wrote casually, available parties, someone offer, accept, made feel temporarily free. Wait, Prince Harry. Talked marijuana smoking regularly, 20s. Drinking, not social. Numb, escape, forget. Hours, who, what happened. Then, interesting, talked psychedelics, magic mushrooms specifically. Described taking party Courtney Cox's house, California. Wrote, bathroom, trash can, face, speaking. Laughed, telling, got serious. Said psychedelics helped process mother's death, nothing else. Think second, Prince, third line throne, started using. Sixth, book out, publicly admitting illegal drugs saying helped, not breaking silence, detonating. Reaction predictable. Conservative media lost minds. Commentators irresponsible, bad example. Question drug history allowed stay America. Donald Trump interview said Harry lied. Visa application, drug use, face deportation. But lost outrage, Harry not celebrating drug use, explaining someone enormous pain, carrying unprocessed trauma. Reach anything offers relief. Royal raised, never complain, never explain doctrine. Asking help, admitting weakness. Substances become only outlet available. Understand Harry's addiction struggles. Understand came before. Talk mother. Diana not addicted substances traditional sense, least know. Struggled bulimia years. Bulimia addiction. Compulsive behavior, temporary relief, emotional pain. Takes life, can't stop, even no destroying. Mechanics. Same drug addiction, different substance, mechanism. Diana developed bulimia shortly marrying Charles 1981. 19 thrust, scrutinized role imaginable. Married man, love someone else. Pressure, crushing. Food one control. Decide went, body came back out. Life, nothing, control. Purging, sense, power. Struggled 1980s, own account. 1995, BBC Panorama interview. Binging, purging, multiple times day, worst. Charles didn't understand, dismissed, attention-seeking. Royal family not know, handle, mostly ignored, hoped away, didn't. Diana finally help, therapy, early 1990s, separation, Charles. Learned manage bulimia, admitted never completely went, impulse always, especially stress. Imagine Harry watching mother struggle couldn't control, seeing criticized, judged, press, watching marriage fall apart. Then 12 dies, car crash, chased paparazzi. 12, 7th grade, still believe parents immortal, suddenly mother gone, killed, press, tormented years. Walk behind coffin, television, millions watch. Keep together, strong, can't cry, much, not dignified. Prince after all. Harry said interviews, couldn't cry mother's funeral, felt numb. Numbness lasted years. Tried process grief, own, asking help, getting therapy, talking feelings, not royals did. Buried, pushed down, tried carry. Discovered alcohol made pain less sharp, marijuana easier sleep without nightmares. Cocaine gave hours, someone else, somewhere else, mother not dead. Would never recommend people recreationally, Harry said, interview, promoting book. But right people suffering huge loss, grief, trauma, things way working, medicine. Voice someone trying explain addiction never experienced. Not saying do drugs, saying much pain try anything might help. Even no dangerous. Palace's response, Harry's revelations, interesting, said nothing. Officially, Buckingham Palace, no comment, book. Silence said everything. Couldn't defend without acknowledging problems real. Couldn't condemn without looking callous. Quiet hoped story fade. But Harry not done breaking silences. March 2021. Her wife Meghan sat an Oprah Winfrey interview sent shockwaves Monarchy. Meghan revealed suicidal working senior royal. Said gone, one senior people institution asked help. Said needed go somewhere, treatment, thoughts harming self. Told no, not good institution, look bad. Couldn't hospital, clinic, what people think, didn't get help. Suffered silence much possible, hounded tabloids dealing royal life pressures. Told Oprah, Harry kept alive, not pregnant, might not made. Harry backed story. Said family's response, Meghan's mental health crisis finally made realize institution never change. Same system, failed, mother, failed. Aunt Margaret enabled. Generations royal suffering system, still operating exact way. Institution mattered more individual, always, every time. Interview. Harry also talked own struggles, anxiety, panic attacks, feeling trapped. Said times 20s official events feel couldn't breathe, walls closing. Couldn't leave, had be there, had smile, shake hands, play role. Push through, go home, drink, use something, calm down. That's functioning addiction. Someone appears fine outside, falling apart internally. Using substances, keep going. Family's response, Oprah interview, swift. Queen issued statement, whole family saddened. Some recollections may vary. Polite way calling Harry, Meghan liars. William reportedly furious. Charles hurt. British press attack mode. But interesting happened. Public opinion split. Younger people, particularly UK, US, largely sided Harry, Meghan. Saw two people trying to escape toxic system, punished, speaking honestly. Mental health, institutional dysfunction. Older people, particularly Britain, tended side institution. Don't air dirty laundry, maintain dignity, keep calm, carry on. Generational divide tells important. Attitudes, addiction, mental health, royal duty changing. Previous generations saw weakness, younger see honesty. Used shameful, now brave. Harry's journey substances not end. Oprah interview. Book subsequent interviews talked working therapists, EMDR therapy, PTSD specifically using psychedelics. Therapeutic context, not parties. Trained facilitators helping process trauma. Controversial, right? Psychedelic therapy gaining acceptance medical communities. Legitimate studies show psilocybin, MDMA help PTSD, depression used properly. Still illegal most places. Prince publicly endorse wild. Harry described sessions mushrooms helped access memories, feelings blocked 25 years. Talked, finally able cry mother's death couldn't funeral. Said experience transformative, helped understand self, trauma. Years, traditional talk therapy hadn't. Clear doesn't mean psychedelics magic cure addiction, trauma. Dangerous, misused. Harry, careful say, professional guidance, not randomly taking drugs. Fact. Talking publicly framing certain substances potentially therapeutic, rather just recreational, harmful. Massive shift. Royals historically discussed issues. Compare Harry's openness, previous generations handled similar problems. George IV's laudanum addiction hidden behind medical language. Edward VII's excesses minimized, high spirits. Margaret's pills nerve condition. Pattern always same, hide, minimize, never admit real problem. Harry said, I had problem, use substances, cope trauma. Almost destroyed me, here's God help. Revolutionary royal. But hard truth, speaking openly came cost. Harry, Meghan lost royal titles, technically kept, can't use professionally, cut off financially, family. Moved California, essentially exile. Harry's relationship, William reportedly still fractured. Relationship Charles strained. Worth? Harry seems think. Said interviews leaving institution probably saved life. Least saved becoming another royal casualty system. Get therapy without worrying palace approval. Talk struggles without press office controlling narrative. First time life prioritize mental health, institutional appearance. But hard. Hear interviews, see talks, family. Didn't want leave, wanted institution change, modernize, prioritize people, protocol. Didn't happen, felt no choice, tragedy. Modern royal addiction struggles. Individuals, finally willing, honest, get help, break generational patterns. Institution hasn't caught, Firm still operates same principles George IV's time. Protect monarchy, maintain appearances, never admit weakness. Something give. Either institution adapts, starts treating mental health, addiction, medical issues, rather PR problems. Starts prioritizing individual well-being, institutional image, keep seeing royals. Either suffer, silence, leave entirely. Harry chose leave. Not only one struggling issues, various reports, other young royals dealt anxiety, depression, public life pressure. Just dealing quietly, trying work within system rather against. Succeed? Really? Reform institution. Inside institution operating same way centuries. Whole point monarchy, tradition, continuity. Suddenly prioritize change, individual well-being. Don't know, no. Question, unthinkable 50 years ago. Fact, even discussing royal mental health, addiction, openly, questioning institution change, that's progress. Even slow, painful. Because underneath, history covered, gambling, laudanum, affairs, cover-ups, simpler truth. People, flawed, struggling. Human people happen. Born system, often worked against well-being rather. Some enabled others. Some profited others. Addictions, some just trying survive. But behind every addiction story, other people too. Ones made money, royal excess, merchants, dealers, enablers, saw opportunity, vulnerability. Ones fed beast, beast paid well. Every addiction needs supplier. Behind every royal excess, people making money, lots money, keeping excesses flowing. Uncomfortable truth. Many respectable business people, pillars society, church, Sunday counted royals, valued clients, Monday, Saturday. Talk royal warrant system. Seen products by appointment Her Majesty label? Royal warrant. Official endorsement monarchy. We use company's products. Supposed honor mark quality. Businesses worth weight gold. Signals prestige. Guarantees customers. But history, some royal warrants, companies essentially enabling royal addiction. Take John Bell and Croydon Pharmacy. First royal warrant 1798. Supplied medications royal household 2 centuries. Legitimate pharmacy, still London. But 1800s primary suppliers, Laudanum, Palace. Knew sending how much. Queen Victoria's household ordered larger quantities. Opiate-based medicines years. John Bell and Croydon filled orders without question. Why question? Royals' best customers. One royal warrant, prestige, guaranteed income. Don't ask, wealthiest client may be ordering too much. Addictive medication. Fill order, send bill, maintain discretion. Multiple pharmacies competing, royal business. Savory and More, another London pharmacy, held royal warrants. Advertised royal patronage heavily. Main selling point, we supply Her Majesty's household. Translated, ordinary customers, if good enough queen, good enough you. Irony, some supplying Her Majesty's household, fueling dependencies. Slowly destroying people served. Pharmaceutical suppliers just beginning. Real money, luxury goods. Asprey, legendary luxury goods company, New Bond Street. First royal warrant, Queen Victoria, 1862. Sold everything, jewelry, silverware, leather goods, objet d'art. Supplied royal family gifts, mistresses. Edward VII, 1, best customers. Needed gift, Lily Langtry, Alice Keppel. Needed gifts, often, keep mistresses happy. Send someone, Asprey. Select something appropriately expensive, discreet. Bracelet, jeweled cigarette case. Item showed affection, taste, not ostentatious. Create scandal. Asprey kept meticulous records. Purchases private. Part service, discretion. New items going, women never tell. Discretion worth paying, Edward paid well. Gerard, crown jewelers. Similar relationship, royals. Held royal warrants in 1735. Made crown jewels. Yes, also gifts royal mistresses. Items royals used. Pay off debts. Gamble. Jewelry essentially currency. Royals portable. Valuable. Easily given away. Sold. George IV needed liquidate assets. Pay gambling debts. Gerard quietly buy back items previously sold. No questions asked. Value pieces conservatively. George wouldn't get full value. Discreet transaction. Discretion cost George money. Saved reputation. Now talk. Wine spirit suppliers. Berry Brothers and Rudd. Wine merchants, St. James's Street. First royal warrant 1760. Supplied wine every monarch since George III. Cellars legendary. Also kept detailed accounts, much each royal household ordering. Edward VII's wine orders started increasing. Cases upon cases. Champagne, brandy, port. Berry Brothers knew supplying someone's serious drinking habit. Quantities, not entertaining alone. Daily consumption. Say anything? Course not. Running business. Royals paid bills usually. Having by appointment His Majesty storefront meant every wealthy Londoner wanted buy wine. Royal alcoholism. Frankly, good business. Gambling establishments. Perhaps most cynical enablers. White's Club. Brooks's. Boodle's. Exclusive gentlemen's clubs. St. James's. Not just social venues. Essentially legalized casinos. Aristocracy. Owners. Managers. Clubs made fortunes. Members like George IV, Charles, James Fox couldn't stop gambling. Extend credit. Allow debts accumulate, knowing eventually money come family. Parliament. Selling assets. White's betting book recorded wagers. Supposed quirky record gentlemanly wagering. Reading now. Really. Ledger. Addiction. Same names. Over. Betting absurd amounts. Ridiculous things. Club made money. House cut. Each bet. Membership fees. Interest charged. Credit extended. Gambling addicts couldn't pay immediate debts. Club managers knew exactly doing. Sometimes even stage events. Create betting opportunities specifically designed to keep big gamblers engaged. Visiting celebrity bets where upcoming election hold betting pool. Keep action going. Keep money flowing. Someone went completely broke. Lost everything. Unfortunate. Made room new wealthy member take place. Club continued. Addiction economy rolled. But perhaps most complicated, enablers, mistresses themselves. Talked victim system many were, but some savvy economic actors understood exactly. Profit, royal, addiction, pleasure. Take Daisy Greville, Countess Warwick. During 9-year affair, Edward VII accumulated significant wealth. Not just direct gifts, strategic positioning. Edward introduced businessmen, politicians, introductions value. People wanted access. Prince Wales, Daisy, gatekeeper. Leveraged access. Businessmen invest, interests, give shares. Companies help husbands secure profitable positions. Exchange introductions, Edward. Whole economy built Prince's sexual addiction. Affair ended. Daisy tried blackmail Edward. Had letters, intimate, indiscreet. Threatened publish unless paid. Edward, now king, use intermediaries, negotiate. Eventually, letters secured. Cost crown significant sum. Daisy turned affair lifelong income stream. Or look Lily Langtry mentioned earlier. Yes, Edward helped launch acting career Lily. Nobody's fool. Parlayed relationship, celebrity lasted long after affair ended. Became one first modern celebrities. Famous being famous. made money, endorsements, appearance fees, image products. Turned Edward's sexual addiction personal brand. Not condemning women, operating system gave few options, fewer protections. Edward, going use pleasure, might as well profit. Acknowledge royal addiction created entire ecosystem. Everyone, mistresses, club managers, wine merchants, financial incentive, keep addiction going. Here's specific examples shows worked. George IV, Prince Wales bought property Brighton, transformed royal pavilion. Wild Indo-Gothic palace still stands today. Renovation cost astronomical. Initial estimates £500,000, £60 million today. Ended much more. Who work? Hundreds. Artisans, designers, builders. All vested interest. George's spending addiction continuing. Paid wages. More excessive. George's tastes. More elaborate designs. More money made. Frederick Crace, interior designer, basically blank check. George say, want walls covered? Gold leaf ceiling painted. Look, palm trees. Crace say, absolutely, Your Royal Highness. Excellent taste. Not mention cost. Another £20,000. Crace enabling George's compulsive spending? Absolutely. Also running business feeding own family? Yes. Complexity enabler. Economy. Most people not evil, just responding economic incentives made royal addiction profitable. Fashion industry operated same way. George Beau Brummel, famous dandy style setter, Edward VII's close friend, fashion advisor. Brummel take Edward, other wealthy men shopping, encouraging buy multiple versions same outfit, different fabrics, change clothes several times day, always latest style. Brummel made commission, tailors like Schweitzer and Davidson, Savile Row, bootmakers like Hobie, hatters like Lock & Company. All establishments held royal warrants, all profited royal shopping addiction. Edward VII reportedly owned hundreds suits, hundreds. Wear outfit once, twice, never again. Tailors loved meant constant orders, send representatives palace, regularly take new measurements, show new fabrics, suggest new styles. Feeding shopping compulsion called maintaining His Majesty's wardrobe. Lock & Co., hatters, still operate St. James's Street. Kept records showing Edward ordered dozens new hats every season. Anyone say, sir, already 40 hats, perhaps enough? Never. Each new hat, another sale, another commission, another reason maintain royal warrant. Now talk money lenders. Royals ran ready cash, often needed credit. Banks not want lend royals amounts, huge, collection complicated. Can't repossess prince. Specialist moneylenders filled gap, offer loans, high interest rates, sometimes 20–30%, knowing risk, worth. Royal paid, made fortune. Royal defaulted, negotiate something else. Value, property, influence, appointments. Not shady back alley loan sharks. Established financial firms' offices. Mayfair. Wore expensive suits. Spoke refined accents. Making money. Royal. Financial. Desperation. Gambling debts. Spending addictions. Spiraled. Control. One firm, Coutts & Co., still exists. Royal family's bank made significant profits managing royal accounts. Also, fees charged. Overdrafts occurred often. Cover shortfall. Charge interest. Fees add running tab. Every incentive let royals overspend. Profitable. Really insidious. Part. Many enablers maintained plausible deniability. Pharmacists say, just filling prescriptions. Royal physicians. Wine merchants say, just supplying ordered. Tailors say, just meeting standards expected. Royal attire. Gambling clubs say, simply providing venue. Gentlemen's entertainment. None acknowledge profiting. Addiction. Maintained fiction. Simply providing services. Valued. Customers happen. Royal. Systems still exists. Way more sophisticated. More hidden dynamics. Similar still. Luxury goods companies. Still. Discretion specialists. Still. Financial advisors help wealthy people, including royals, spend money. Ways might not entirely healthy. Difference now. More aware. Addiction, more willing call. Previous generations saw prince buying 20th car, 100th suit, called royal prerogative. Now might recognize compulsive shopping. See someone needing daily medicine. Same pharmacy. Ask questions. Dependency. But economic incentives not changed. Still, money made. Excess compulsion. People using money, substances, experiences, fill voids can't really filled. Way question bears responsibility. Addict consumes. Suppliers profit. Royal gambles fortune. Club extends unlimited credit. Easy. Judge individuals say, George IV should controlled. Edward VII should faithful. Margaret should sought proper help. But systems made addictions profitable. Many people. Economic structures turned royal pain, others profit. Because really uncomfortable truth. Royal addiction, not just tolerated, economically necessary. Whole industries depended. Jobs depended. Businesses rose, fell. Based royal patronage often meant catering royal compulsions. Raises even bigger question. Addiction. Become embedded economic systems. Multiple industries depend. Continuing. However break cycle. How help someone clean addiction, literally funding others' livelihoods? Not just historical questions, relevant today. Not just royals, anyone struggling addiction. Surrounded, people profit directly, indirectly, keeping sick. Photograph, early 1900s showing 4 generations British royals together. Queen Victoria, son Edward VII, grandson George V, great-grandson Edward VIII, later abdicate. 4 generations, 4 men, new stories. See addiction patterns woven, each like genetic marker. Victoria used laudanum daily. Edward VII addicted pleasure, all forms. George V trying different, father, rigidly controlled own compulsion. Edward VIII addicted Wallace Simpson, give throne. 4 generations, 4 different manifestations, same underlying issue. Inability regulate, find balance, simply okay. Not coincidence, pattern. Patterns run deep royal bloodlines, start something, traced genetically. Hemophilia. Victoria carried gene past, several children spread European royal families. Became known royal disease. Early 20th century hemophilia affected Spanish, German, Russian royal families. All one carrier, Victoria. Now, addiction, not work. Exactly hemophilia. No single gene makes addict. Genetic predisposition. Modern research suggests about 50% addiction vulnerability genetic. Parents struggled, addiction significantly more likely struggle. Not guaranteed, risk higher. Combine genetic predisposition, environment, perfect storm. Royal children, not just potentially inherit genes, made more vulnerable addiction. Also grew watching parents use substances, cope, stress, saw excess, modeled, normal, learned. Life gets hard, reach something external, fix. George III, 15 children, 15. Many struggled issues now recognize addiction mental health problems. Eldest son George IV discussed gambling, drinking. Others? Prince Frederick, Duke York. George III's second son, heavy drinker, gambler, accumulated massive debts. Not much older brother, significant, bailed multiple times. Also Mistress Mary Ann Clark, caught selling military commissions, promotions. Frederick's addiction, women, gambling, made vulnerable, scandal. Prince William Henry Duke Clarence, later King William IV, 10 illegitimate children. Actress Dorothea Jordan, 10, over 20 years, faithful way, compulsive nature, relationship, later bizarre behavior. King suggests someone not quite know self-regulate. Prince Ernest Augustus Duke Cumberland, rumored violent temper, strange behaviors, people suspected murder, valet found throat cut, 1810. Ernest responsible? Probably not. Investigation, suicide. Fact, people believed could tell's reputation, uncontrolled rage. Then Princess Amelia, George III's youngest daughter, died, 27, possibly tuberculosis. Also years described melancholia, now called depression. Reportedly given laudanum, pain and taking large doses regularly. Out George III's 15 children, several showed signs addictive, compulsive behavior. Coincidence? Pattern. Now George III issues. Talked. Madness. Possible porphyria. Another angle consider. George symptoms, episodes, mania, aggression, confusion, appeared sporadically, life. Modern researchers suggested some symptoms might withdraw medications doctors prescribed, particularly opium-based. Think cycle, George episode. Doctors give opium, calm, becomes dependent. Try reduce dose. Withdrawal symptoms look like illness returning. Give more. Illness. Treatment became impossible. Separate. Children watched. Saw father restrained episodes. Saw doctors constantly hovering. Medications. Learned royal family. Someone struggles. Medicate. Don't talk feelings. Don't address underlying causes. Dose something makes problem less visible. Any wonder grew medicate? But here's really interesting. Genetic standpoint Victoria, not George III's direct descendant. Granddaughter different son Edward Duke Kent. See addiction patterns. Victoria's line seeing persist across slightly different genetic branch. Victoria's 9 children spread Europe marriage, called grandmother Europe. Marriages traced not just hemophilia behavioral patterns. Eldest son Edward VII covered issues extensively. Others? Prince Alfred, Duke Edinburgh, alcoholic. Not hidden. People knew, commented, heavy drinking. Died 55, probably throat cancer, likely related. Drinking, smoking. Prince Leopold, Duke Albany. Hemophilia given morphine regularly. Pain. And short life. Died 30, fall dependent. Daughter, Princess Alice. Later struggled nervous disorders, spent time sanitariums. Princess Alice, Victoria's second daughter, died young. Several children issues. Son, Ernest, mental health problems. Daughter Alex became last Tsarina Russia. While not obvious, addictions fell influence. Rasputin partly, seemed help hemophiliac. Son, desperate. Any solution, any escape, fear, child dying. Victoria's daughter Beatrice reportedly used laudanum like mother. Just accepted. Mother, did I do too? Pattern not exact each generation. Addiction not work way, but vulnerability passed down. Genetics, learned behavior. Now talk, Edward VII's children. Really sad. Edward VII, 6 children. Alexandra, though one died infancy. Eldest son Albert Victor, known Eddie, all accounts, disaster. Reportedly slow, possibly intellectually disabled, definitely irresponsible. Rumors, gambling, brothels, scandals. Cleveland Street Scandal, 1889, involved male brothel, Eddie's name connected. Whether actually involved or rumored, still debated. Clear, Eddie showed same patterns. Father, seeking pleasure, compulsively, unable self-regulate, getting situations, embarrassed family. Eddie died 1892, 28 influenza. Some historians suggested relief, royal family troubled. Younger brother George, more stable, more controlled, became heir, eventually King George V. George V, interesting, saw father's excesses, brother's failures, went opposite direction, became almost pathologically controlled. Rigid routines, strict discipline, everything, place. Some historians suggest own form compulsion, eating disorder, reverse will instead, excess, pathological restraint. George V's children pattern continues. Edward VIII abdicated Wallace Simpson. Not just romance, obsession. All accounts, Edward completely consumed relationship Wallace. Nothing else mattered. Not duty, not family, not crown. That's addiction, relationship. Same neurobiology, addiction, substances. Brother, George VI became king. Abdication, heavy smoker, chain smoked. Died 56, lung cancer, coronary thrombosis, both directly related, smoking. Couldn't quit despite doctors telling, killing. That's nicotine addiction, pure, simple. George VI's daughters, Elizabeth, Margaret. Elizabeth seems escaped worst family patterns though, drinks daily, famous love, gin, Dubonnet. Margaret discussed struggled, cigarettes, alcohol, possibly other substances. So George III's troubled children, Victoria's medicated children, Edward's excessive children, George V's obsessive children, Edward VIII's obsessive relationship, George VI smoking, Margaret's multiple dependencies. 7 generations, specific addiction changes pattern. Using something external, cope, internal pain remains constant. Modern addiction research explains happens, not just genes pass though, part. Also epigenetics, trauma, stress, actually change genes expressed. Changes passed next generation. Grandmother experienced severe trauma, say losing husband young like Victoria. Stress actually affects certain genes' function, changes inherited. Vulnerability, anxiety, depression, addiction, partly biological inheritance, grandmother's trauma. Wild think, Victoria's grief, Albert's death, 1861, might literally change DNA. Ways affected children, grandchildren's vulnerability, mental health issues, addiction. Top, genetics, learn behavior. Children learn cope watching parents. Grew household stress. Managed substances, emotions, medicated away. Rather processed problems, hidden. Rather addressed. Learn, that's life works. Princess Diana's family, Spencers, own patterns mental health struggles. Diana's father reportedly alcoholic. Mother said emotionally cold. Diana struggled, bulimia, depression, likely undiagnosed. Complex PTSD, childhood trauma. Past, some vulnerability, sons, not bad. Mother trauma affects parenting. Children internalize parents' pain. Harry, spoken therapy. Talked mother's unprocessed trauma affected internalized pain without understanding, carrying. That's intergenerational trauma. Action. William seems more controlled, more like grandmother Elizabeth, managing rigid structure, duty. Also way coping, potentially own form compulsion. Won't know decades. Control, healthy self-discipline. Different manifestation, same underlying inability simply feel, process difficult emotions. Question, cycle broken? Research says yes, requires conscious effort, requires recognizing patterns, getting therapy, learning new coping mechanisms, sometimes medication. Right kind, properly managed. Deliberately choosing not pass trauma down. Harry seems trying. Public therapy, EMDR, PTSD. Working, process. Trauma doesn't pass. Children talked. Breaking cycle, genetic pain, words. Kids grow healthier. Did work? Time tell. Breaking generational patterns incredibly hard, especially patterns centuries old, embedded, everything, genetics, family, culture, institutional expectations. Least trying, least looking pattern, saying, this ends me, more ancestors ever did. Most royal history, nobody even acknowledged pattern. Each generation's struggles treated individual failings, rather larger cycle. George IV just weak-willed. Edward VII just oversexed. Margaret just unstable. Nobody connected dots. Nobody said, maybe family disease needs family-level intervention. Without recognition, pattern repeated. Each generation found new ways manifest same old pain. New substances, new compulsions, new ways avoid feeling needed, felt. Tragedy, much could prevent it, not all. Some genetic vulnerabilities, real, exist regardless. But learned behaviors passed down, trauma modeling, unhealthy coping, could interrupt it. Point someone willing, break silence, address pattern. Instead, generation chose loyalty, institution over individual well-being, maintaining appearances over getting help, chose passing pain down rather processing themselves. Cost choices measured shortened lives, damaged relationships, potential squandered, suffering endured incalculable. Not just royals, everyone affected. Decisions made, struggling, unaddressed. Addiction, unprocessed trauma weren't just personal struggles. Struggles people power, whose pain affected policies, started wars, shaped history. King makes decisions, addicted opiates, obsessed. Mistress, desperate. Gambling money decisions affect millions. Near end, journey centuries. Royal addiction. Ask final accounting. All excess, all enabling, all generational pain actually cost. Not just money, prestige, human terms, lives affected, potential, unrealized, suffering could prevent it. More importantly, anything really changed? Still watching same patterns play. Better PR, sophisticated ways hiding damage. Here end long journey, centuries, royal excess. Met gambling addicts, lost kingdoms, card tables. Drug users built empires. Opium sex addicts commissioned custom furniture. Through scenes system enabled. Profited, ultimately tried hide, human cost. Unlimited privilege combined, unlimited access. Haven't yet answered important question. All actually cost? Start, obvious cost, money, just money. Could add gambling debts, wasted spending, bailouts, money paid. Keep scandals quiet. Economic losses, impaired decision-making. Total? George IV alone cost British Treasury millions. Millions today's money. Debts, renovations, coronation, lifestyle. One estimate suggests lifetime George cost equivalent over 100 million modern money. One person, one prince, then king, contributed relatively little governance, busy drinking, gambling, renovating palaces. Opium Wars fought essentially protect Britain's drug trafficking operation. Cost money, yes, more importantly, cost lives. Tens thousands died wars, millions Chinese became addicted opium. Social economic devastation, China lasted generations. All traced back British Empire's need revenue. Revenue partly funding royal excess, partly funding empire's own addiction expansion wealth. Something most history books don't connect. Money Britain made opium sales 1800s, 15–20% colonial India's revenue. Mentioned some money went directly civil list-funded royal household. Victoria's morning laudanum essentially paid Chinese opium addicts. System circular. Sell opium China. Use profits fund empire royals. Royals use opium themselves, darkly poetic. But economic cost beginning. What political cost? 1811, George III's final mental breakdown meant George IV become Prince Regent. Britain Middle Napoleonic Wars, crucial years. Decisions, military strategy, alliances handle Napoleon. Made while Prince Regent heavily using laudanum dealing various addictions. George IV's impairment affect decisions. Never know, certain no, erratic mood swings. Famous people learned approach certain times day more lucid, not ideal. Someone needs make decisions, war, peace. Edward VII's reign, 1901–1910, relatively short, historically significant. Period, tensions building, Europe, alliances forming, eventually lead World War I. Edward called Uncle Europe, related many European monarchs, unique position, influence diplomatic relations. But Edward distracted. Spent huge amounts time mistresses, parties, gambling, eating elaborate meals. Kaiser Germany, Edward's nephew reportedly complained couldn't serious political discussions. Edward always surrounded racehorses, actresses. Edward died 1910, Germany, Britain, already collision course, war. Could Edward done more, prevent World War I, more focused diplomacy, less focused pleasure? Historians debate fact, even ask question tells cost, royal distraction. George VI, Elizabeth's father, heavy smoker mentioned, died 1952, age 56, much younger should. Daughter Elizabeth became queen, 25 younger planned. Less preparation time, less mentorship, father would lived normal lifespan. Elizabeth's early years, queen, marked inexperience. Made mistakes, relied heavily, advisors, struggled, some aspects role. Would better prepared father lived another 10, 15 years? Almost certainly. Smoking addiction literally changed course, reign British history, then cost institution itself. Each scandal, revelation, excess addiction, chips away public support, monarchy. 1990s, divorces scandals, Charles, Diana, Andrew, Fergie. Public support monarchy hit historic lows. Polls showed significant percentages British people thought monarchy abolished. Scandals, not all addiction, many connected. Charles's affair, Camilla married Diana. Andrew's associations, Jeffrey Epstein. General sense, royals living excessively, ordinary people struggled, damaged monarchy's reputation, legitimacy. After Oprah interview, Harry, Meghan, 2021, polls showed support monarchy among young people, Britain barely above 50%. Commonwealth countries like Australia, Jamaica, serious discussions removing British monarch head state. Institutions survived 1,000 years facing existential crisis. How much crisis stems addiction cover-ups around? Impossible quantify, precisely, pattern clear. Each time public learns royal excess, royal suffering, hidden. Royal addiction enabled trust erodes little more. Also cost, haven't talked much cost, opportunities not taken, what could people accomplished, hadn't struggling addiction. Edward VII actually quite intelligent, charismatic, wanted. Diplomatic skills helped ease tensions, Britain, France. Entente cordiale, 1904, ode lot. Edward's personal charm, state visit Paris. Imagine applied energy skill consistently, instead spending half-time brothels, gambling clubs. What might accomplished? Princess Margaret, reportedly very talented, artistic, musical, witty, spent life spare, drinking much, taking pills, struggling, depression. What could created, contributed, gotten real help, trauma, instead told, put sweater, cope. Harry seems bright, empathetic, good people, did meaningful work. Invictus Games, wounded veterans. Years self-medicating, struggling, unable fully engage life. Now gotten help, speaks openly, become advocate, mental health. Imagine gotten help 20 instead 35. How much more could done? Multiply across centuries, royals lost potential, staggering. How many innovations never happened? Royal too impaired, patronize right scientist. How many diplomatic opportunities missed? King too drunk, high pay attention. How many artistic, cultural contributions never materialized? Talented people trapped gilded cages, medicating pain instead processing. But here's something interesting. Scandals, struggles also forced positive change. George IV's financial disasters led much stricter parliamentary oversight, royal spending. No monarch since able accumulate level personal debt. Scandals, 1990s led royal family paying taxes, first modern history. 1992, annus horribilis. Queen agreed pay income tax, private income. Concession, public pressure, acknowledgement, old rules not sustainable. More recent, openness, mental health. Partly forced Harry. Meghan's revelations led royal family becoming more vocal mental health advocacy. William Kate Harry launched Heads Together campaign, 2016, reduce stigma around mental health issues. Palace now acknowledges mental health struggles, real, seeking help, important. Old stiff upper lip approach, damaging. These changes wouldn't happen without scandals, without public pressure, without people like Harry breaking silence. Sometimes institutions only change forced, cost, not changing becomes high. So, lesson all? Take away long, strange, sometimes heartbreaking journey, centuries royal addiction? First, addiction human. Doesn't care title, wealth, breeding. Anything having unlimited resources, unlimited pressure, creates perfect conditions, addiction flourish. Royals weren't avics, morally weak, bad people. Avics, human beings, impossible situations using tools available, cope. Second, systems matter. Royal family's institutional approach. Never complain, never explain. Hide problems, protect image above else. System enabled prolonged addiction rather addressing. Doctors prescribed without questioning. Suppliers profited without concern. Staff maintained silence, press looked away. All created environment, addiction thrive unchecked. Third, breaking cycles possible requires courage. Harry's decision. Speak openly, get therapy, use platform, advocate mental health. Took immense courage, gave royal position, financial security, relationship, much family. Also potentially broke cycle persisted 7 generations. Children might grow healthier, willing, honest pain. Fourth, privilege doesn't protect suffering. Anything makes suffering worse. Expected, grateful, not complain. Appreciate advantages. Have everything, still pain. Live palace, still trapped. Wealth status don't cure addiction trauma. Sometimes provide more expensive ways avoid dealing. Finally, transparency, better secrecy. Centuries, royal family kept struggles hidden. Secrecy hurt everyone involved. Addict suffered alone. Public deceived. Problems festered, grew worse. Now slowly, painfully, more openness, more acknowledgement, medical issues, not moral failures. More willingness, get help, speak honestly. Not perfect. Institution still resists change. Still plenty cover-up, spin. Compared even 50 years ago, shift significant. Shift happened. People refused stay silent. Old way became unsustainable. Cost secrecy finally exceeded cost honesty. So here, 2025, British monarchy still exists, still struggles. Legacy still grapples. Balance, tradition, modernity, duty, well-being, institutional preservation, individual health. Some royals trying to break old patterns, others still caught managing. Struggles, privately, still maintaining. Famous, British Reserve. Institution itself slowly, reluctantly adapting. Acknowledging mental health, being slightly more transparent. Accepting. Old rules don't work. Modern world. Will monarchy survive another century? Depends partly whether fully evolve beyond patterns explored tonight. Whether prioritize people over image, health over tradition, honesty over appearance. Whether acknowledge complicated history without destroyed acknowledgement. Story, royal addiction. Ultimately, story, human condition. Vulnerability, pain, desperate search, relief, capacity, tremendous resilience, tremendous self-destruction. Royals, more resources, most people, not immune. Human frailty, ways, struggles, illuminate own. All face pressure, trauma, pain. All look, ways cope. Question, whether find healthy ways, turn things ultimately make worse. Royal story teaches no amount, wealth, power substitute genuine, mental health support, honest relationships, freedom, vulnerable. Teaches systems enable suffering easily prevent. Teaches change, difficult, costly, possible. Someone brave enough break silence. Thanks staying long journey. Shadows royal history. Heavy times, shocking, others occasionally. Even darkly funny way human folly. Most all hope illuminating. Seen something true. Addiction, power, institutions, build, people live within. Stories, not just historical curiosities, lessons, happens. Prioritize image over health, tradition over well-being, secrecy over honesty. Reminders everyone, regardless status, deserves help. Struggling, proof even most entrenched patterns eventually broken. People brave enough tell truth. Found story meaningful, made think, feel something. Love, hear comments. Want more deep dives, history's hidden corners? More stories, complicated, messy, fascinating reality behind legends? Stay tuned. Many more stories tell many more secrets, uncover many more lessons learned. People came before us. Until next time, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other. Remember, all just human, trying best navigate strange, difficult, beautiful life. Sometimes stumble, sometimes fall. But honesty, support, little courage, break cycles, bind us, create something better, come after. Sweet dreams, everyone. See next.